Hello, everybody. Welcome to Chapter 3 of My Furry Life. AnthroCon, here we come. It's time to get to some fun stuff. Enough with the misery and wallowing and being obsessed with people I never even met before. It is time to get out there and see what the furry fandom is really all about in person, live, and in color. Before we do that, we have to wrap things up with the Sugar Wolf crisis. I'm going to do it quick because I want to get to the good stuff. October 22nd, 2007. My cousin is in labor and I'm at the hospital. I'm still going nuts between the events of the previous night and her being in labor. I'm worried. Just going through so many different emotions. I can't keep it together. People are like, yo, what's your problem? And I can't tell anybody because if I told them the truth, they would think I'm crazy. And, I don't want people thinking I'm crazy. But eventually, my cousin does give birth, and when that happens, I get this feeling of just warmth. I feel good. It felt like a ray of light. It felt like everything was going to be all right. Because in the end, nothing else mattered. That was the most important thing happening at that time, was me with my family and the new member of it. So I go back home, and, I tell Lobo what happened, and, nothing could really bother me. And eventually we start role playing, and I get this really, really stupid idea that me and him should like role play having a family by having some pups of our own. And I guess, the whole baby thing kind of inspired me. But he went along with it. So we had three pups. One was named Tamaska, the other one was Frostfur, and then there was Twilight. And that's going to be funny a little later. Twilight was a girl, the other two were boys. And I couldn't really tell you what we did in those role plays. I can't remember. It was so long ago. But, I'm about to turn 18 and I'm like role playing having a family with a stranger on the internet. Like, what is going on with me, man? I don't know. A few weeks pass and I remember it's around Thanksgiving. And then, of course, the other shoe drops. Lobo and B become mates. It's official. When he told me that I'd be his mate if he chose a male, that was all bullshit. He lied to me. And I think that day I stood up to like all night till 12 in the afternoon. And it was a tough day for sure. But I think my intuition knew it was coming. Like I could smell bullshit from a mile away. And it definitely won't be the last time somebody tries to like gaslight me into thinking we're going to be something when we're not. So, I do what I do best. I start writing. Eventually, New Year's come. It's 2008, and I make a vow to be drama free for 2008. Like nothing's gonna stop me. I'm gonna have a great time. There's gonna be no more drama. And instead of being like sad, I was more resentful. I was more pissed off this time around. I just don't like being lied to like that. I don't like my emotions being manipulated. I mean, who does, right? But this particular instance, it just really pissed me off. And eventually I told him off, and he uninvited me to AC too, which of course was a given. He'd want to go with his mate. But yeah, like after that, I told him, I can't talk to you anymore, bro. You're out of my life. I'm sure I used a more sophisticated language than that, but that was the end of the Sugar Wolf crisis. Now we're moving into early 2008, and I get this phone call from Ketz. He says he's going to Anthrocon, and he invites me to go with him. And I'm like, yes, the plans are back on, baby. We are going to Pittsburgh this coming June. And who else is making an appearance? Dream is also going to Anthrocon. So I have a crew for this convention, my very first furry con. And I need to save up money. So what I do is I get my very first job. And my very first job was working at the Central Park Zoo, taking pictures of all the people coming in with their kids. Whoa, stop and smile, guys. It's time to take a photo. I hated that job so much. I am not a good salesman. I'm not bad at taking pictures, but this was April, and that's when my allergies kick up. So I'm like in tears, and I got snot coming down my nose, and I'm trying to take pictures of people, and then I got to sell them to them. I don't like pressuring people to do things, so selling photos when they could just take their own is a really, really big ask of me, and I wasn't cutting it. And I was only there for 6 weeks. I did work on the weekends, and my boss was really, really nice. But I just told her if I'm doing my best, and if it's not good enough, then I will leave. And that's what happened. I didn't know about the 2 weeks notice. Like, this was my very, very first job, and I wish I did that. But I had enough money to go to AC and to buy an Xbox 360, so I was happy. So leading up to AC the week before, I actually was feeling sick. I had like this crazy throat infection, and Dream was working at the juice bar, so he told me to come by, and he made like this crazy concoction of herbs and spices, greenery, and yo, this was like probably the nastiest thing I've ever drank in my entire life. This thing was so gross, and it took me maybe like 2 or 3 hours to get through it all. But he told me it would help me feel better, and it did because it was so nasty and like painful. It took away from the sickness I was feeling. It distracted me. But the important thing was I was feeling good in time for the convention. And then the convention comes. I'm taking a plane because I figured, hey, gotta fly, right? I don't know how far Pittsburgh is. And this trip is a big deal, not because it's a furry con, but it's my first trip without my parents. And I just turned 18, so I was like, this was like a big turning point in my life. It was my canon event, and I was stoked, man. I think for my 18th birthday, Dream took me out of Chinese food. This is the point in the story where we become like best friends, especially the way this con brought us together. So I get to the airport and I find out my flight is delayed, and I'm devastated. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna miss all the fun. But they gave me a voucher for like $500, so it wasn't that bad. But anyway, it was only delayed like 3 hours. So I finally get to Pittsburgh. I get to the DoubleTree Hotel, and I meet up with Ket for the very first time in person. And he's rocking sunglasses because he's very shy, and he wants to. I guess he felt like if he wore sunglasses, he would feel less vulnerable, more confident in himself. And it was just cool to meet someone that I've been talking to on the phone for 3 years for the very first time. We were roommates, and he was so chill, such a great dude. And I'm so happy that he invited me there because that con really changed my life. Then we made up with Dream at the waterfront, and he's with a friend named Winterpaw, who's a fursuiter. And at this point in the fandom timeline, fursuiters were like rock stars. They weren't everywhere like you see today. Having a fursuit in 2008 was a luxury. And I remember when he suited and he was going to the dance, we were like, yo, make way, man. We got important VIP coming through. It was awesome. He was a really cool guy. So most of my first day at AC was just exploring the layout of the con and the hotel. And back then, it was only 3,000 people. So it was way, way smaller than it is now. Last year, AC 23 just announced that they had over 13,000 attendees. So to put that in perspective, my first con had 10,000 less people than what it did this year. And for the most part, it was Thursday, so we weren't really doing much. And we go to the dances at night. And let me tell you, man, I love those dances, bro. The music was off the chain. This is my first time hearing like a lot of EDM and techno and electronica, in live. And I loved it, man. And it was just a great way to set the tone. Friday comes, and I remember Dream getting interviewed for the news because every year they do a news story about the con. And his part didn't even like get used. He was like stumbling over his words. It was hilarious. He also permed his hair. I didn't describe to you what he looked like before. He usually has an afro. Before the con, he straightened his hair, so we called him Fabio. So it's like everybody before this con started like wanted to do something new with their look. I was rocking my Rockaware jean jacket the whole weekend because I was insecure about my weight. Like saying it out loud is so weird because furries, they accept you for whoever and however you look, and I was concerned about, oh man, I want to look good for these people. It's so weird to say that now, but it's the truth. And I have video of this convention, so if you look down in the description, if you want to see my footage, I cut down maybe like 3 hours into 30 minutes, so you can get like the highlight reel of my con. But I'm gonna still keep describing what went on. We went to the dealers then, and to me back then that was like a huge dealers then. They had a lot of cool stuff like T-shirts, plushies, books, arts up the ass. It was a good time, but I wasn't really buying anything. I was just there as an observer. I was soaking everything up. Um, we met this guy named Steel the Warrior. He walked around with a fox puppet, and he was really funny. I think he was dating Winterpaw at the time. And yeah, on Friday we went to this party. It was Jimmy Wolf's birthday, and he was turning 30. And I remember at the time, wow, he's turning 30. He's old, man. Look at me now. And that room party was so good. The vibe and the energy was great. I think that was the first time I like had my first legit alcoholic drink. Don't tell on me. And it was a blast. Just meeting people, talking to them. Uh, I was slowly coming out of my shell because most of the convention I was just following Dream around, and Dream knew a lot of people because he went to FAU, and he knew Foxwell because Foxwell knows a lot of people. He's an OG furry. He was there in his Fox Coon suit. We saw him a few times. Yeah, what else we do Friday? We went back to the dances, of course. That was fun. And then Saturday is like when like the stuff really started to pop off. We went to the fursuit parade, and that was cool. I remember being like, yeah, man, I want to be in that someday. What else was Saturday? I went to a Bucktown Tiger concert. For those who don't know, Bucktown Tiger is a furry rapper, and he actually came out with a few albums. And just seeing him in person like was a big inspiration for me because obviously I was writing furry rhymes at the time. 2008, I felt like my songs were actually becoming like really good. I was leveling up. So meeting him, becoming his friend, that was a big deal to me. He did a concert where he was playing the piano in fursuit. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Um, and we did a Smash Brothers tournament. It was Super Smash Brothers Brawl. Me, Dream, and Cat, we all entered. And I went up against a guy in the third round named AIDS, and I was playing as Wolf. It was a 6-minute time limit, 3 stock, and I messed up immediately. I did the side B off the stage. I do that a lot. But he didn't defeat me. I ran out the clock. I mean, he still won technically, but he didn't kill me. So I felt good about that. And then, of course, we went to the dances again. We would always go to the dances. That was always my favorite part of the convention. Oh, and we did the masquerade, man. Masquerade is like a furry talent show, and you watch that masquerade now, it's all cringe. But back then, I loved it. I was eating it up, seeing all these cool skits, all these musical performances. I still reference the Anthrocon. We don't give a damn, man. We don't ever give a damn, man. I still reference that with my friends, and they still laugh their asses off. You get bad press, we get bad press. And that was when I realized, man, like, yo, this is like the best weekend of my life. I'm having so much fun, making so much connections. I'm finally living it up like I should be. I'm 18, bro. Like, this is what it's all about. And for all the new furries out there watching this, I hope you have a similar experience at your first con. I went into the deep end right away. That was the largest con in the world at the time. I just did a cannonball right in, and I don't regret it. And then Sunday comes. Sunday's more chill. I commission my first badge. Never get commissions on a Sunday because you won't see them for a year. And I get this wolf necklace. It's a wolf medallion. I had that throughout the entirety of my furry life. It meant a lot to me. It was like a symbol of, all the experiences I went through. I don't have it anymore because I went cliff diving with it like a moron. But it was a really big deal to get that. We did the fursuit games. That was fun. And the fursuit dance competition, man. I really love that, and I told myself 1 year I want to be up there, man. I want to show these guys what I can do, and I ended up staying an extra day. I used my flight credits to move my flight to Monday. I ended up staying in the main hotel, crashing on the floor of the Westin, and I got to see the Dead Dog Dance. The Dead Dog Dance is the dance at the end of the con where everybody's pretty much tired, ready to go home, but we're gonna dance one last time, and it's usually in like one of the random rooms in the convention center or the hotel. And that concept of the Dead Dog Dance really stuck with me, and you'll find out later on down the road. And we went to the waterfront to say our goodbyes, talk about our experiences, and that was basically it. That was my AnthroCon '08. Like again, you can watch the video. I wrote a song about it. One of the best weekends of my entire life. Still holds up to this very day. A few things I didn't put in the video. I saw my first Mersuit. I caught a glimpse of it in someone's room. I saw a sheaf. I was like, oh, there it is. CSI wasn't bullshitting. There was a dick copter. Someone like taped a dildo to like a little RC helicopter and it was spinning around, spinning around. And the last night when I was sleeping on the floor, some guy came in with an inflatable suit, and he inflated so much, like I thought I was gonna get crushed. I was like, "Oh my god!" It was still good times, man. And yeah, after that, I wanted to go to like all the cons. I wanted to get off the internet and like experience this firsthand for myself. And that summer, me and Dream, we got close. We became best friends. We hung out like every week. He started coming to my house. We met my mom. And yeah, like that just like bonded us together. It bonded me and Ket too. But of course, he's sorry, he lives in Ohio, so I'm not able to see him like that. So I ended up going to FAU 2008 in New Jersey, and this con is tiny compared to AC. It's only 300 attendees, and I go there blind, like literally. I wear contacts, and I had an eye infection. So again, with the whole I want to look cool thing, I didn't want to wear my glasses, so I literally went to that con the entire weekend. I was blind. But compared to AC, it was just really boring. It was nice to be around furries again, but still pretty dull. But the great thing about small cons is it's easier to make new friends and make new connections. And I saw Dream put away 8 hot dogs that weekend in one day. I'll never forget that. Beetlejuice was there. He was cool. Another thing that happened over the summer, we came out here. It's a beautiful Coney Island. That's right. Coney Island. Because that was that weird time where they were threatening to bulldoze all of this and turn it into a bunch of condos. So Foxwell and this guy named Rabbit T. Rabbit, he has like a little clique of furries. He had like a public access show back in the day. He's not around with us, sadly. Rest in peace. They came here and did like a little march. There was like photo shoots and stuff. And then, I came out to show my support, be a fursuit handler, which is, helping people in suit not bust their ass and making sure they get water. So we came out here and look, we saved Coney Island. This is because of that day. You're welcome. And then the last con I went during this chapter, well, during that year too, was Fur Fright, and that was in Connecticut. And Fur Fright was like the perfect balance of big and small. It was like maybe around 1,800 attendees, something like that. And I went up there. My uncle was nice enough to loan me the money because I still wasn't working at the time. But I did get an interview right before I went to the con, so that was cool. You're going to hear about that interview the next chapter. And Fur Fight was great, for the most part. There was this one incident. Someone mentioned Lobo to me. Like, they said, like, oh, yeah, he's doing this and that. I guess it was somebody from SF. And that bummed me out. So, I went to the game room and volunteered a little bit just to clear my mind. But I didn't let that stop me from having a good time. But the most significant thing that happened in Fur Fright, take note. On the way there, I heard about this girl who was like, I hate to say it, but, it was their words. They were raping people, you know what they mean. They were just like, harassing them playfully. And she was like throwing dildos at people, and I'm like, oh, who is this chick? I hope I don't meet her. Uh, I do meet her, and her name is Twilight. That's why me naming one of my pups Twilight was funny. She had a feisty personality, just like this girl. So I meet Twilight for the first time, and she's the epitome of free spirit. This girl's just having a good time, and she has like a cool hat. She's dancing. Just she's the life of the party. And my first thought was, man, why can't I be this girl's boyfriend? Because she had one at the time. But we became friends. And at the Dead Dog Dance, we made our own moves up. We did the stomp the baby. You got to cradle it, throw it on the ground, and you stomp it. Stomp, stomp. Oh, you get it. The shopping cart, you get something, you put in your shopping cart, you just like go in there. We had a few. And yeah, that was like one of my favorite Dead Dog dances. We were just making up shit. But also, during that time, I had this moment at the end of the con. I looked at myself in the mirror, and I just didn't like what was staring back at me. I was like, this isn't who I am. I could be so much better. I know I have the potential deep down inside me. And from that moment on, I pledged that I was going to change myself. Also, I forgot to mention at FAU, I was asked this question by Foxwell, are you ever going to get your own fursuit? And I'm like, wow, never thought of that. Because I literally never thought of that. Like, want to be in the dance comp, but, it wasn't like a serious thing. But after that conversation, I decided I'm going to take it seriously. So at Fur Fright, I was like, I'm going to change myself. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to dress the way I want, look the way I want, and I'm going to be a whole new man. And that's what we're going to get into on the very next chapter. Thank you to the 4 people who watched chapter 2. You guys are real ones, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.